Apple spent decades building the perfect supply chain in China. The factories, the engineers, the cities, the entire ecosystem. But something changed. China didn't just become Apple's manufacturing partner, it became a technological superpower of its own. And now the most valuable company on earth may be trapped inside a system it can no longer control. This is the story of why Apple can't leave China. Advanced chips, electric vehicles, global supply chains, and even Apple, the company that helped transform China's manufacturing industry, can no longer ignore what China has become. Because this isn't just a business story anymore, it's a silent technological war. And most people still don't realize how it happened. Back in the early 2000s, Western companies rushed into China for one reason: cost. China had cheap labor, massive populations, and a government willing to build industrial infrastructure at unbelievable speed. For companies like Apple, it was the perfect solution. Factories expanded across entire cities, millions of workers entered manufacturing, and China became the center of global production. But something bigger was happening behind the scenes. China wasn't just producing products, it was studying the system itself. Chinese engineers worked alongside some of the most advanced companies in the world. They observed how products were designed, how logistics operated, how supply chains moved, how factories scaled at impossible speed. Year after year, China absorbed knowledge from the very companies that believed they were simply outsourcing labor. And eventually, China stopped being the factory. It became the competitor. Companies like Huawei, DJI, BYD, Tencent, and Xiaomi began rising faster than the world expected. At first, many Western executives underestimated them. They believed Chinese companies could manufacture, but never innovate. That assumption would become one of the biggest strategic mistakes in modern technology history. Because while Silicon Valley focused heavily on software and profits, China focused on industrial dominance. Entire ecosystems were being built: battery production, AI research, telecommunications infrastructure, chip manufacturing, electric vehicle supply chains. China wasn't trying to win one market. It was building technological independence. And slowly, the balance of power began shifting. Today, China produces more electronics than almost any nation on Earth. Its factories move faster. Its infrastructure scales faster. Its supply chains operate faster. And in some industries, China is no longer catching up. It's pulling ahead, especially in electric vehicles and manufacturing scale. Even Apple now faces a complicated reality. Because China is no longer just part of Apple's supply chain, China is becoming part of Apple's competition, and that changes everything. The global tech war today isn't really about phones anymore. It's about control. Control over AI, semiconductors, factories, data, rare earth minerals, energy systems, global infrastructure. Because whoever dominates those systems could dominate the future economy itself. This is why tensions between China and the United States continue growing. Export bans, chip restrictions, trade wars, technology sanctions. None of this is random. The world's largest powers understand exactly what's happening. Technology is becoming the new battlefield, and China spent decades preparing for it. The most fascinating part? This transformation happened quietly. While consumers focused on new iPhones, faster apps, and social media, China focused on something much bigger: systems, factories, engineering, infrastructure, industrial scale, technological ecosystems. And now, the world is witnessing the result. The factory became the empire, and the student became the rival. The question now is no longer whether China can compete with the West. The real question is, what happens if China eventually leads it?